Okay, but now, let's move on to Joel chapter 2. So you got to keep this stuff in context. It told you that when God sent the Medes to destroy Babylon, the sun, the moon, and the stars would stop shining when that happened. But did that literally happen when the Medes destroyed Babylon? No. You can't read anywhere in history where all of the celestial bodies got dark when the Medes destroyed Babylon. So what does it mean? The same thing you read in Ecclesiastes chapter 12. It's Bible terminology. It just simply means that evil times were coming. Go back and read Genesis chapter 1. What it said about the sun, the moon, and the stars, it said they were light. So what it's saying is dark days were coming. That's what it means. Dark days. Evil days. But that did not literally happen. So when Jesus said the same thing, he was not talking about a literal darkening of the elements. He just simply meant evil was coming. Evil was coming upon who? Upon Israel. But we're going to see another example of that. Joel chapter 2, pick up in verse 1. We've seen people use this out of context. Joel 2 and 1. Go ahead and read.
Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble. For the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand.
It's about the day of the Lord coming again, being nigh at hand. And notice that, blow the trumpet. What does this mean? Warn the people. Tell the people. Instruct the people. We're going to see that come out later on too. Go ahead.
A day of darkness and of gloominess.
A day of what? Darkness and gloominess. Not literal darkness. It just means evil times is coming. Bad times are coming. That's what it means when it says darkness and gloominess. That's what Isaiah 13 was talking about. That's what Matthew 24 was talking about. It was not talking about the literal darkening of the element. Bible terminology once again. Absolute truth. Go ahead and read.
A day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountain.
No wonder that a day of clouds and thick darkness. We need to start using this terminology today. It's a day of clouds and thick darkness. A cloudy day is a dark day. Go ahead and read.
A great people and a strong. There has not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations.
Now notice that a great people and strong. See, people try to say this is about Armageddon. The army involved in Armageddon. Not even close. We're going to see who these great people are. But go ahead and read.
A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth.
It said a fire consumes before them, and behind them a flame burns. Go ahead.
The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness.
What it's saying is the place that they're destroying, these great people, in front of them, it looks as beautiful as the Garden of Eden. But once they get through with it, it looks like a desolate wilderness. Go ahead.
Yea, and nothing shall escape them.
Nothing shall escape them. Who? This great people. Go ahead.
The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run.
Because they look like horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. Go ahead.
Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap. Like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array.
Anybody who reading this would think this is talking about an army, a literal army. A strong people in battle array, battle attire. Sound like an army. Go ahead and read.
Before their face the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather blackness.
It said all faces shall gather black. We mean become afraid before these people that it's talking about. But is this talking about a literal army? At the church we went to, it said this is the army involved in Armageddon. Like I said, not even close. Go ahead and read.
They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. And they shall march everyone on his ways, and they shall not break their rank.
Sounds like an army to me. So they're going to march everyone on their way. They shall not break their rank. They're going to climb the wall. Go ahead and read.
Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk everyone in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded.
I've seen two different interpretations of this. One person say the army is immortal. So when they fall upon the sword, they won't even be hurt. Another interpretation was there's so many of them that when one dies, it's going to be like nobody died. Not even close. It's not talking about either one of those things that you're going to see because the Bible going to tell you what it's talking about. In the same book. Go ahead.
They shall run run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief.
This army going to be doing all of that. Go ahead.
The earth shall quake before them.
There it is again. The earth going to quake. Go ahead.
The heavens shall tremble.
There it is again. The heavens going to tremble. That's the same thing Jesus said in Matthew 24. Go ahead.
The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining.
The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. Sounds like the same thing we read in Matthew 24, right? Sounds like the same thing we read in Isaiah 13. And we see Isaiah 13 has already been fulfilled. That was fulfilled when the Medes destroyed Babylon. But it said the sun and the moon and the stars were going to get dark then. That did not literally happen. It's just Bible terminology. It simply means dark days are coming or evil days are coming for whatever nation God is judging at that time. That's what Jesus meant in Matthew 24. Now we're reading the same thing in Joel. Now we're reading about a great army. But go ahead and read.
And the Lord shall utter his voice before his army.
Before his what?
Army.
So it does say this is God's army, right? Go ahead.
For his camp is very great.
His camp is very great. Go ahead.
For he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible. And who can abide it?
Once again, it says the day of the Lord is great and very terrible. And who can abide it? In other words, who can handle it? But what are we talking about here? Are we talking about the last battle of Armageddon or something like that in the end days? Not at all. Let's get down to verse 21. Let's see who this army is. And the answer may shock you. Go ahead.
Fear not, O land, and be glad and rejoice. For the Lord will do great things. Be not afraid, ye beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness do spring. For the tree beareth her fruit, the fig tree and the vine do yield their strength. Be glad then, ye children of Zion.
He said, be glad then, ye children of Zion. Come on, the Israelites. Go ahead.
And rejoice in the Lord your God. For he hath given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain, and the latter rain in the first month.
So he said they're going to get the rain that they wanted and needed. Go ahead.
And the floor shall be full of wheat, and the vat shall overflow with wine and oil.
Why is he talking about all these natural resources that they're supposed to be getting? It has a purpose. Go ahead and read.
And I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten.
He said, I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten. Go ahead.
The cankerworm and the caterpillar.
The cankerworm and the caterpillar. What else?
And the palmer worm. My great army which I sent among you.
My great army which I sent among you. Who was that army that you just read about? Read it again. Locust, cankerworm, caterpillars, and palmer worm. It wasn't even talking about literal people. It was talking about an army of insects. An army of insects came upon Jerusalem and ate up all their crops, and it was barren, and that's why they needed rain and crops and so forth. God was telling them, I'm going to punish you by sending these insects among you. That's his great army. If you read the whole chapter, you will see that's what it is. You have taken insects and turned it into Armageddon. That's ridiculous. That's what you call really making a mountain out of an anthill. They have literally done that. This is not talking about Armageddon. This is talking about some locusts that God sent upon them. And notice when he said he was going to do that, the sun and the moon and the stars were going to become dark. Did that literally happen when God sent these locusts among Israel? No, it did not. This is the second time we have read this other than Matthew 24, and it has not literally happened. It just simply means that God is bringing judgment upon whoever. In this case, among Israel. In the other case, among Babylon. So in Matthew 24, what must it mean? Same thing. Dark times will come from Israel by way of who? The Roman Empire. But let's move on and take another look at that. Let's go back to Joel chapter 1. And prove this even further. Joel chapter 1, pick it up in verse 1.
The word of the Lord that came to Joel the son of Pethuel. Hear this, ye old men, and give ear, all ye inhabitants of the land. Have this been in your days, or even in the days of your fathers? Tell ye your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children another generation. That which the palmer worm hath left hath the locust